I arrived in Munger in 1976 at the end of the year, and I was 17 by a week, and you know, teenagers, I think I know everything about everything, and now I'm nearly 55, I think I know nothing about anything. So, when I arrived in Melbourne in 76, India for me was quite a different place than it is these days. Who's been to India? I was just talking about that before, and how these days everyone's using a mobile phone. And phones are inexpensive in India. Speaking on the phone is very inexpensive. I must admit, I rather like it in a way, because when I first arrived, people would sit next to you and without talking to you, they'd be psyching you out, they'd be feeling you out at that psychic level. Whereas these days, because everyone's on their phone, they're into themselves and they're not bothering about the next person. Australians don't understand about Australians, white Australians, but people who come from Asia, I'm sure, would understand what I'm talking about. And the Aboriginal people do that too, they feel you out. And my mum, she's a retired nurse, a retired RN, but she was working in Alice for a while at the hospital there, and because she'd been in India, the Aboriginal people could feel that psychic sensitivity. And there was one old bloke there, and he used to say to the other nurses, "I'm going to marry her." Because of that psychic sensitivity. Yeah. So, I think we're almost gathering everybody. What I'm going to do first, before we actually start the practice, is to talk a little bit about it. And I know some people are involved in Karma Yoga and need to continue their Karma Yoga, but would like to hear the introduction to this. So when it's time for you to leave, I'll just let you know we're going to start the practice, and you can then continue with your Karma Yoga. Who's new to the concept of Tattwa Shuddhi? Okay, so probably half-half. And who's actually practiced it for a period of time? No one's practiced it very much for a period of time. Okay. Come in, and then we will start.
When would you like the doors shut?
Do you think are there any more people coming up the
Still
stairs?
coming up, and I think it's
I'm going to start. You can leave the doors open
You're happy
till,
for people
till we actually start the practice. Leave the doors
and
open.
I'll get, Bobby, if you can shut the doors.
Yeah, when I start, I'll shut the doors. So if you're still wandering in, just take a seat. I'm going to start talking about the practice, but there was an announcement first. Please come and do your announcement.
Hello. I'm Chakramani, and I'm on the planning committee for the 2016 World Yoga Conference. And we'd be delighted to invite you to come and talk to us at our table down there. We're looking for people, inviting people to come and help with the World Yoga Conference. And we have 6 departments that we're looking to get volunteers on. We have finance, marketing, infrastructure, venue, and that's just 4 of the 6. So administration. We've got the list down there, and what we're inviting people to do is to come and say to us, I'm interested in contributing my skills or whatever to that particular area, and just give us an expression of interest. We're not asking for a commitment at this point in time. And what we'll be doing is actually sending out a template to everyone who's put their name on the list, and just asking you to give us an overview of your skills. And from that point then, we'll come back to you, and we'll also be asking you for your availability. We have 3 groups that we're looking for. We're looking for people who'd like to make a commitment now and actually come on board and help us now. The committee is Punamurti, Yoga Sandhan, Swami Atma, and Ahimsa, and myself. And what we will do is to ask you if you'd like to make a commitment now, or just come on board with us now, or if you'd like to just support those people who are coming on board now, that's group 2, or group 3, if you'd like to come and work with us just before the convention and during the convention. So, thank you for the opportunity for this commercial break.
So the subject of our session now is Tattwa Shuddhi, purification of the inner tattvas. And just to talk a little bit about that, so that you have an idea of what you're doing and what the purpose of this practice is. At one level, it's better not to intellectualize what's happening, but at another level, it's good to know what you are doing and your purpose for doing it. And when I first came to the practice of Tattwa Shuddhi, Swami Satyananda had been here in Australia with Swami Satyananda, and he came back to India, because that's where my training took place in India. And he said to me that I would be doing this practice for 1 month, having a fruitarian diet, which meant that all my meals were fruit, uncooked, and some milk or yogurt. And I think the dietary restrictions in this practice is actually paramount to that process of purification. And Swami Satyananda was writing the book, and I assisted in the editing of the book, having done the practice. So during my experience of Tattwa Shuddhi, I suppose it was a bit like the first time when I took Purana Sannyas and we shaved our head, and I woke up in the morning and I go, oh, I've really flipped out now. So during the practice, after the first day, I thought, if I hadn't flipped out by shaving my head, then this really put the icing on the cake. Because while Tattwa Shuddhi is a process of visualization, the inner purification that takes place and what drops away from you after the practice, no one can say, but you're left with looking at yourself. And sometimes that can be a bit of a shock, because we're not expecting to see what we see. We think we have an understanding of who we are, and how we are in the world is who we think we are in here. But there's two different people. There's the person we express to the world, and then there's the inner person, and then there's something behind all that watching. So the process of Tattwa Shuddhi is, yes, the purification of the elements within, but it's a purification on a mental level just as much as it is on a physical level, because basically we're a brain walking around in a body, and the experiences are happening in our brains. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. A new lady to my Yoga Nidra class commenced last week, and she said, it was really amazing after the Yoga Nidra, during the Yoga Nidra rather, I felt like my hands were enormous. And I said, well, yes, in the brain, in the middle of your brain, there's a representation of you there, homunculus, and the hands take up a very large area. So as you relax, that's what you're experiencing, your hands in the brain. So this is what I mean. Our experiences in life, yes, we register things through the senses, and this is what we purify through the process of Tattwa Shuddhi, but it's actually happening in the brain. And behind the brain is the mind, within the brain is the mind, and within all of that is the witnesser, the observer. And as we practice yoga, we become more and more aware of ourselves. And sometimes we don't like what we see. But the beauty of that is, as you become more and more aware of yourself, you realise, well, hang on, I'm making the choices here. I'm the one that's in control. The inner me, I'm letting my mind rule, but in actual fact, I can take charge of that. And when I can't take charge of it, I just have to ride it out till it loses its energy. It's like being on this horse. It's galloping, 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 and sooner or later it's going to peter out. And sometimes we just have to bear with that experience till it peters out. And this is what happens during the process of yoga, in Tattwa Shuddhi. You develop this awareness. So while I've been living in the ashram for a long time before I did the Tattwa Shuddhi, I have to say it was this practice that really assisted me in understanding me. Because that's what yoga's about. It's about you as an individual. We do yoga because it gives us more control of ourselves. That's what yoga is about. But then, with having that control, we need to implement it in our day-to-day life. So what we gain out of the practices, it needs to be part of who we are and how we express in our day-to-day life. And as you practice your yoga and become aware, well, hang on, I'm having this experience in my yoga and my yoga nidra and the meditations. How is that applicable in every moment of my life? Life is not compartmentalised. It's a continual process. And so, I mean, just as another example of that, when I had to leave India, we all got quit India notices at a certain stage. We had to leave, and that was a political situation in India. So I came back to Australia, and I found it was really inappropriate wearing the Geru cloth. I felt people were, psychically attacking. They didn't like it. They were hostile. So I went to the op shop and just bought some regular clothes, and after a year, and I went back to India with a group of people, and I said to Sri Swamiji, I don't wear Geru when I teach. He said, yes. And I said, oh, well, some people think you need to be wearing Geru. And he said, do what you need to be successful. So that said to me that it wasn't the Geru that was making me who I am. I was who I am from within, irrespective of what I was wearing. And I knew that, and he knew that. And, you see, so this is what yoga is about. It's about being who you are innately inside. And whatever you're wearing, that is who you are. Know who you are. And Tattwa Shuddhi helps you to know who you are and to assist you in realising you're making the choices to be who you are in this moment. We can only control ourselves. Other people can give us information. Do we take that on board? That's our choice. And another example of that, I was in Hungary not last year, the year before, and Swami Muktibodhananda had taken his daughter to India, and she was young and she got sick, as it happens, and she wasn't able to eat, and Swami Niranjanananda gave her a biscuit, and she ate that, and from that moment on she got better. And Swami Muktibodhananda said, look at Swamiji's power. And I said, yes, he's powerful. I said, but it was also her choice to accept that healing, to take that on board and choose to change whatever needed to be changed. And so as you practice Tattwa Shuddhi, it's the same thing. You can do the practice, but if there's something inside of you that is resisting and doesn't want the change, nothing's going to happen. And so that applies with everything in life. If we take the information that we're given and choose to utilise that, changes take place. So it's all up to us as individuals to allow the process of change to take place. In Tattwa Shuddhi, because it's a tantric-based practice, we do the process of purification through visualization. In Hatha Yoga, we have 6 cleansing techniques, and within those headings, there are subheadings in the cleansing practices. So there's a physiological change that takes place through, for example, drinking warm salty water, flushing the system out. In Tattwa Shuddhi, we do everything at the level of the mind. And if we do it consistently every day for a period of time, then there can be dietary restrictions if you wish, and then the process of purification also takes place at that physiological level. Tattwa Shuddhi can be done once a day, every morning, but it takes time. You may not have that time. It can be done once a week. It can be done once a year. And as with all practices, it's up to you how much you want to take on board. Some people find that when you go through the visualization of the elements, that because they're very visual and they really connect with that they like to just do it at that level, visualizing the tattvas. And I would suggest for people who haven't done Tattwa Shuddhi before, do it in stages if you're going to take it on as a home practice, as a sadhana. Today we're going to go through everything, and if there's something in it that you don't quite get, it's not gelling, like with Yoga Nidra, just sit with the ideas in the mind, and keep moving with the practice. So that once you've come out of it at the other end, and you walk out the door, then you notice, oh, something happened, not quite sure what yet. You know, it's like when you go to a regular yoga class and you feel really good afterwards, but the body and the mind are processing that experience for quite a long time. And if you've been to India, the body and the mind process that experience for a long time. I'm still processing my 10 years and what it all meant, and how it's influenced my life, my lifestyle. And Tattwa Shuddhi is like that too. It just continually is integrated into your whole being, and that process of purification continues on. And so what you're purifying are the negative mental patterns. You're changing the neuronal firing the more you do this. And what comes up during the practice or after the practice can be an onslaught of the negative patternings. The samskaras are dredged up. And you suddenly see your automatic responses to life, to situations. And you need to sit with those automatic responses to digest them. Then you can make the changes if you wish. So in Tattwa Shuddhi, we do some pranayama beforehand to focus the mind. Then we think of Guru. Now, you might be here for your first time. You're investigating, you don't have Guru. That's fine. You can think of higher self. You can think of the part of you that your intuitive self that guides you in life. And whether you listen to that or not's another thing, but you can think of that just for a few moments and say to your higher self, now I'm setting the time aside to do this practice. For those who have Guru, then you think of Guru, and the same thing. You express your intention of sitting for the practice, and at the same time you ask for the blessing to do this. So you're really communing with your higher self and your connection to the higher forces that flow through you in life, if you allow. Then we go through the mantra so, hum so, and then we visualize the imagery of the tattvas superimposed on the body. And so by doing that, what you're connecting into are your basic needs. Your basic needs which are ingrained or expressed through your chakras. So Muladhara's basic tattva is that of the earth element. And in this case, it represents that which gives you that need that drives you to experience security and to feel that you have a strong foundation in life. So the earth element is about the forces that hold your whole body together, that bring cohesion to your whole being. And so simply by doing the visualization of the earth element, you don't have to think about what the earth element is. You just keep the mind engaged in the sound vibration and the mental visualization of the earth element. And in that way, afterwards, you become aware of your need. After the practice, you become aware of how strong your need for security is. Some people have stronger need than others. Some people need a great big mansion to feel secure. And the yogis in the Himalayas just need a little cave. So we all have different, the need is in different quantities in people. When you move up to your water element, as you do the visualization and mantra repetition on that, what you're tuning into is the need to express joy, fun, play through the sensual world. Some people think, the water element is the basic element of the driving force of Swadhisthana. It's to do with sexuality. That's a very small aspect of it. It's an important aspect, but it's very small. It's more about the sensual world and engaging the senses to understand your individual self, your individual expression. So in terms of human evolution, this is where the individuality expresses. Below that, the earth element to do with cohesiveness isn't individual. And so we say that the Muladhara is the Sahasrara of the animal kingdom. So the animal nature expresses at Muladhara and becomes individualized at Swadhisthana. And that need to engage in the sensual world, to have fun and play and learn through that. We always say, we learn through our hard experiences, the difficult experiences in life. Yes, we do, hopefully. But really, we learn much more through having fun and playing. If you take your mind back to school when there was a subject that you really enjoyed, but the teacher sucked, as they say these days. And so it really spoilt that subject for you. And you're thinking, I like this subject, I don't really want to go to that class because of the teacher. Well, because of your personal relationship you form in your mind in relation to that teacher. But then you might have a subject that you're not really good at, but you have a fantastic teacher who's lots of fun, so you look forward to going to that because of the teacher, because of your internal relationship. So having fun and playing is expressed through Swadhisthana. And as we visualise the crescent moon and do the mantra, then that's the layer that we're working on with that visualisation and mantra. So you don't have to think about all those aspects, you just do the mantra and visualise the form. And then as you move up to the fire element, in Tattwa Shuddhi, we see the fire element as an inverted triangle, and we say that it's surrounded by the bhupura. Now in Tantra, if you've seen the mandalas or the yantras in particular, of any of the aspects of the divine, on the outside it's surrounded by a square with a rectangular form attached to that square. We call those the gates, the gateways into the energy of the yantra. They're like the doors of the car. In order to get in your car, you need to open the door. Got the sunroof, there's an idea. So it's the same with this particular fire element visualization. We say that it's surrounded by the bhupura, which are the 4 doors And if you don't understand that when I'm explaining the visualization, just see the inverted triangle, it's fine. So this is the symbol of fire, and it's to do with will, desire. It's to do with expressing in the external world. In yoga, it's also to do with expressing internally and being in control of self. So while we're trying to control others, then, well, we know that doesn't work. We keep trying it maybe, but we can only control ourselves. And this is what that fire element is symbolising, the energy and the will and the desire and the need to be self-controlling. And it's very heating. So at that stage of Tattwa Shuddhi, sometimes people get really hot. And people with high blood pressure sometimes find that it's too much. So I can say to you, if you're feeling uncomfortable with any of the tattvas, in particular that one, just leave that visualization if you're not coping with it. Leave that mantra, leave the visualization and wait for the next. And just watch what comes up in the mind, being the observer. So the fire element, obviously, as we learn about yoga, we understand it's to do with our pranic energy, our vital force, but it's also to do with that other layer that I've just been talking about. And we'll move up to the, yes, I think I've covered that. We'll move up to the air element, which we visualise as 6 grey blue gaseous balls. The fire element is symbolised by a hexagon. And so the hexagon having 6 sides, we have 6 corners. One in the process of Tattwa Shuddhi starts at the sternum, and you have 2 either side and 1 at the eyebrow centre. So we see those corners as grey-blue gaseous balls. And in other practices, we just see it as the hexagon. The air element is to do with the need for, and the expression of the need for love and belonging. And once again, everyone has a different quantity in which they need to feel loved and to feel belonging. And so it's also the turning point. If you look at the symbol of the Anahat chakra with the 2 interlacing triangles, you have the inverted triangle of energy expressing in the world, and you have the upright triangle of consciousness expressing. And they're in equal balance. So after Anahat, the aspect of consciousness increases. And so here, because at Anahat, the consciousness and energy are in equal balance, the human and humane aspect starts to evolve more. And so, for example, we talk about love being expressed from Anahat, and it starts with conditional love. I love you because you do this, this and this for me, and when you don't do that, sorry, I don't love you anymore. So we start off with conditional love. And the process is of developing, as we say, compassion, but the process of Anahat and the air element is sorting out how much do we need to be loved, how much do we need to feel that we belong, and how much do we give that back. And so through that process of sorting it all out and finding out who we are in amongst all of that emotion, then we come gradually closer to our inner self. And as we do that, we feel that immense connection and love that just is everywhere all the time, and we realise we've been ignoring it. We've been cutting ourselves off from it. So then we have the choice to tune into it if we wish. it's in the too hard basket, then we don't. We stay where we are till we're ready. And this is what the Anahat is about. And visualization of the air element will connect you into that, and it can bring all that sort of stuff into your face. We move up into the ether element, where we visualize it from the eyebrow centre to the crown of the head. It's a sphere containing all colours, so it may appear black, or you might see all the imaginable colours possible. It's the ether element, and visualization of that with the mantra connects us into the need for creative expression. And if we don't get our creative expression of all the chakras and the mind out, then we have internal health issues, and we have defects of personality too. Not that anyone's personality is perfect either, but because we're human. But that connection to the ether element allows us to be aware of whether we are enabling ourselves to express creatively. What is that creative expression? My grandmother, who's over 100 and doing really well, except for her eyesight and short-term memory, all she wanted to do was to be a housewife and keep her house clean, bring her family up. That's all she wanted to do, and she had that expression, and she was able to express that to her fullest. And she was healthy most of her life. Even in old age, she's pretty good. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, and that enables you to express your creativity, and you feel joy and happiness through doing that, fantastic. But if you find that you're not happy, that you're not expressing your creativity, then you need to find what's going to give that to you, to allow to be the medium of your creative expression. I mean, we allow ourselves to feel happy or unhappy in certain circumstances, and so then we need to find the way that we're going to feel happy. And when we do that, our creative expression is being expressed. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. So this is about the ether element. And after the practice, you might realise, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do this, and I've been holding myself back. I've been saying to myself, well, you're not good enough. So what? So what if you're not good enough? Just do it. Then you'll be good enough. You know? If we restrict ourselves, if we allow the information that we've heard around us to be our belief system, then that's what it is. But if we say, well, yeah, okay, that person said I'll never be good enough, but that's their opinion. Give it a go and let's see. Give yourself your creative expression. Otherwise, by the time your life is drawing to a close, you won't have that opportunity again. So focusing on the ether element enables us to realise that about ourselves. Then we get into the mental layers, the mind, when I say mental. Mind and intuition, connecting into the energy that we call cosmic energy. Well, that might sound a bit airy-fairy, but we're all connected into the bigger picture. And we're connected through the air we breathe, we're breathing in positive, negative ions, and even at that level, we're talking about energy. We're connecting in through our prana. We're connecting in by having our feet on the earth, being close to the earth and the electromagnetic fields of the earth. It's a more physical energy, but it's still an energy. And so we can connect into the more subtle energies by being aware of it and doing practices that enable us to feel that connection. But who's the silent witnesser behind all of this? There's our inner self, and we connect into that. But when you study Sankhya philosophy, you learn that they talk about this bigger picture of Purusha. In Tantra they say Shiva, which is the ultimate witnesser of all. And then there are the small Purushas, the Jivatma, which is what is within all of us. And it's described as the inner self within each individual as reflecting the bigger consciousness. And the symbology is of the moon reflecting the sunlight. The moon in itself has no light, but it becomes full of light when it reflects the sun. And I really like that analogy. So when you think of your inner self, to connect into that higher self, think of it like a large sun shining light, and you're the reflection of that. So this is the Purusha, the witnesser, the observer, ultimately. In the practice I'll be talking about that, and just give yourself a few moments to feel what could that possibly be. Yeah. So we dissolve the elements, we reconstruct them again, and the process of purification really takes place with the visualization of Pap Purush, as he's called. Pap Purusha is the shadow side of ourselves. We all have a shadow side, and that's why I was saying before, when we see things in us that give us a shock and we don't want to see it, this is the Pap Purusha in Tattwa Shuddhi. In astrology, it's the Lilith. Any astrologers here? No astrologers. Google it. Lilith is your shadow self. And Lilith in the Jewish Bible was Adam's first wife. And he tried to control her. And she said, no way, Jose, I'm not. So it's that part of you that doesn't want to be controlled. You know that part? It's that part of you that says, or you say, oh, I shouldn't eat another piece of chocolate cake. I shouldn't eat another one of those round chocolate balls down in the store. And the other part says, go on. So Lilith in astrology is the shadow self. Pap Purush is that shadow self. We all have it there. And it's coming to terms with that shadow self. Yes, it's an aspect of the mind. And in yoga, we look at it and say, okay, I am this, 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 and this. And by accepting it and not putting energy into it through acceptance, it starts to calm down. It's when we try to deny it, when we try to keep it bottled in, it's wanting to get out. But if we say, hi, I'm so-and-so and you're so-and-so, nice to meet you, okay. What are we going to do together? Through the visualization of Pap Purush, who's seen as having a shield in one hand and an axe in the other, through the visualization of Pap Purush's transformation, we transform that shadow side within ourselves. And to give you an example, my Lilith's in Gemini. I live in two worlds. Here I'm in Geru. When I go to, that's the clothing, the orange, because it's my yoga uniform. When I go to my son's graduation at school, I just wear civvies, whatever you call it, normal clothes. That's my Lilith. I live in two worlds. It's not a problem to me. That's who I am. Because inside I'm me, wherever I am, whether I'm in this world or in that world, I'm me. The world might see me differently. I don't see me differently. I don't have a problem with it. So, had I not come to terms with that aspect of me, living in two places, there may be a conflict in my mind, because I might be thinking, oh, I'm this in that world and that in that world. I'm a whole person. I express this, I express that. Do you see what I mean? So in Tantra, Tantra says the thing that will pull you down will actually spur you on. So if you understand your shadow self, your Lilith, your Pap Purusha, come to terms with that, life changes. You will realise your wholeness. So we do this visualisation of Part Purush. Just see what he does inside of you. He's in the left side of your abdomen. Left being the psychic part of your being. So we do this visualisation and see what unfolds for you. I remember one of the first yoga nidras that I ever did in the sadhana hall, the first sadhana course here that you saw a picture of. And Swami Muktibodhananda was explaining about seeing a crocodile. I was hugging my crocodile and dancing with it. We were having a great old time. And at the end he was asking about, what was your experience with your crocodile? He said, crocodile is the ego. And I thought, oh, well, ego and me, we're having a great old time. having fun in Swadhisthana, see? Fun and playing. So the same with your Part Purush. See what Part Purush is doing. Without trying to control, let the experience unfold. See if you relate to it or you don't relate to it. And at the very end, we have a visualization of Prana Shakti, the cosmic Shakti, the energy that's behind everything and within everything. So we give her the form of a woman because energy, that's what energy is symbolised as, Shakti in female form. And she has 3 arms on one side, 3 arms on the other side, and in each hand she's holding a different item. And just to explain to you why we use this symbology, so that you don't have to think about what you're doing, you just use the symbols. And in one hand she's holding a trident. Trident is representing the 3 qualities of inertia, of dynamism, and of balance. She's holding a bow, and then she's holding arrows, which represent the mind and the senses, which are like the arrows, the senses which rest on the mind. And you shoot them into the world to experience. And then in the other hand, she's holding a noose. And the noose is about grabbing hold and reining in the feelings of hostility that we have. And the goad is about taking control over the desires in life, and directing desire in a particular area. And then what might seem really gruesome is that she's holding a skull dripping with blood. Well, that's representing the ego and utilising ego in the world, taking a grip of it so that it's not ruling you, you're experiencing through it, but understanding it's just a means of experiencing the world. Without it, you won't be here. I won't be here. No one will be here. When somebody's in a